Hi everyone. So today we are going to start with the Python basics and introduction. So as you know, Python can be used for multiple purposes like web development, game development, machine learning and artificial intelligence, data science and data visualization, desktop GUI, web scraping applications, business applications and audio and video applications as well. So there are multiple features of Python, and it can also be used to shorten the code as compared to other programming languages. And there are multiple support of different libraries, packages, and importing which we can have the flexibility of writing short codes. And I mean to say that we don't need to write complex code, and by just importing those libraries, it will make the developer's task pretty easy. So yeah, as you can see, Python is a feature-rich application. Okay, we will look into some of the basic commands that we can start today. I will go through one by one. Okay, so like other programming language, we have this print statement using which we can print the value of a variable, functions, or constants. So this is how you can use the print statement. If it is a string, you can pass the double quotes or single quotes, or if it's a variable, then you can just pass that variable name and the respective values will be printed. Now coming to the next one, this is how we use the if else statement, and this is called Python indentation. The way the colon is used and after which there will be a space provided. This is called Python indentation. This is how we used to write the control statement, decision making statements. Now this is how we assign the variables like the again Python is a dynamically typed language, so I can assign x equals to 5, then I can assign a string or any boolean value to x. That would be absolutely fine. Now, this is how we write a single comment statement using a single hash. And if we need to write a multiple comment section, then we can write it with this three single quote, three double quotes. I mean to say, this is how we can write comments for a function or any method we are defining. Okay, now talking about typecasting. Basically, if you want to convert an integer to a string or string to an integer, float to an integer, this is how we can do the typecasting. So as you can see, if I will write x equals to string of 3, it will be printed x equals to 3. So integer will be converted into a string. Now this is just we are using int of 3, so the y value will be 3. Now if we will be using z equals to float of 3, so it will be a decimal value will be appended. So as you can see that z value will be printed as 3.0. Now basically talking about the type data types. So when we say x equals to 1, it will be an integer. When we say y equals to 2.8, it's a float. And if it's a plus ij, then it means it's a complex value. Now how we used to do a typecasting, I mean to say, if we want to do convert an integer to a float, then we use a equals to float of x. Similarly, if we want to do convert from float to int, then we would use b equals to int of y. Similarly, we can use complex as well. So as you can see, this is how the respective values will be printed. So here we have assigned 5 to x and y to John. If we will type of x, if we will print type of x, then the respective data type will be printed. This is how we can print a variable type in Python using this type attribute. Okay, now this is just an example. This way also we can assign variables x comma y comma z and the respective string values. This is how also we can print those variable values. Now this is an example of a list which we will see later. So basically we have different types of collections in Python: list, tuple, sets, dictionary, and strings. So this is an example of list where we have square brackets around all these attributes. So you can see if this way also I can assign a list to the respective variables. So the index respective index attributes will be assigned to the respective variable. So in a list, when I'm talking about a list, and I mean in general Python also, this index is assigned to 0, the next one is 1, 2, and so on. So in Python, everything starts with the index 0. So if I will print xyz, then those respective values will be printed. Now, this is an example of a Python function. So we use this def keyword and we use the function name and within open bracket colon. Okay, so the same Python indentation will be applicable to here as well. So I'm just assigning good value to x, and when I'm trying to print, then if I am calling this my function statement, then it will be printed as Python is good. Now coming to the next one, again see similar kind of example, but here it was assigned, the x value was assigned outside of that function, but here we are assigning best value to the x. Now if I will print, if I am calling that function, then what will happen is initially it will print Python is best, because this the scope of the best is inside this function. That's why it was printed Python is best. And the next line, it if we are printing another one, it will consider the outer attribute of x. Okay, this is another example where we use this global variable, means it will be assigned throughout the program. So in this way we are assigning a global variable, global x, and if we are trying to print, if we are trying to call the my func, then it will be printed as Python is fantastic. Okay, now let's talk about some of the data types. So, built-in data types. If we will talk about built-in data types, so Python has the following data types by default. So there are string data types which are of text type. Now we have integer, float, and complex that comes under numeric types. Then we have list, tuple, and range that are sequence. Then we have dictionary, that consists of key and value pair. Now we have, if we will talk about set types, then we have set and Trojan set. We will see in details. Now again we have Boolean types that includes true and false. Now we have bytes array and memory view. Now and at the last we have none. I mean which doesn't have any return type. Now, if we will talk about collection, then we have list, tuple, sets, and dictionaries. So, list is a collection which is ordered and we can change it, and it allows duplicate values. Now, tuple is a collection which is ordered, but it cannot be changed, and it allows duplicate members as well. Now, set is a something which is unordered and unchangeable, and it doesn't allow I mean it doesn't allow any index as well. If we will try to print set of 0, then it will give us error. But yeah, it doesn't allow any duplicate members. So let's say if there is a requirement where you would like to create a data structure, but it should not allow any duplicate values, then you can think of considering set. Now again, dictionary is a collection which is ordered and changeable, and it doesn't allow any duplicate members. Okay, now we have some of the packages and libraries. Now random is one example which allows us to generate any random numbers. It it has a method rand range, and if I will pass 1 to 10, then it will give me any random integer between 1 to 10. Now again, coming to strings. So we discussed that strings are immutable. So here I assigned hello world, and this is how I will extract the first element. So as we saw, everything in Python starts with in the index 0. So the first e elements will be printed because it comes at e one position. Now if I want to reverse a string, then I can simply use a of double colon minus 1. So everything will be reversed. Now if I want to know the length of a, then it will we will use this length of a function, and the respective length of a string will be printed. Now if I want to fetch something between 2 index, and between 2 to 5 then I would use 2 is to 5, so it will print as LLO. Now this is another example where we can use string formatting using this format function. So here this is age and text, and I am just using txt.format age. Now similarly in the below example we have used three variables: quantity, item, number, price, and I am using the string formatting. So the way I am using is my order dot format quantity, item, number, and price. So the respective values will be printed. Now coming to the boolean data types, so we can use boolean of hello, boolean of 15 false, and the respective values will be printed. So if it's not a none null value, then it will be printed as true. Otherwise, for 0 or none or false, it will be printed as false. Okay. So this is how we define a class name. Then inside this we have function which is returning just 0. This is how we create a class. We create an object in class. So object name equals to class, and after that open bracket and close bracket. And if we will print the boolean of my object, it will print as false. Okay, now is instance method is used to check whether an object is an instance of a class or not. Since x is an integer, it will give the is instance x of int equals to true. Now we will talk about some of the methods of list. So as we saw, lists are ordered and changeable, and it also allows duplicate values. So if we will try to use fetching the respective values with the index values, then we can use this approach. So here we are trying to fetch 2 is to 4. It means it will print the values only cherry and apple. Now if we will reverse the value minus 4 is to minus 1, then it will start from right to left and it will print banana, cherry, and apple. Now, basically, the way we have constructors in different programming languages like Java. So similarly, we have our constructors in Python, which means it just creates an object. So I can pass within a list constructor. I can pass the variable names within double round brackets, and the respective list will be created. But just make a note that we are passing double round brackets. This is how we can use the list constructor. Now, if we want to modify a list, we can do that by passing the respective index value. So I am replacing them with black currant and watermelon, and the respective list will be modified. Using append method, we can append a variable to a list. This is how we are doing it. Now, if we want to insert any element to a respective list at a specific position, we are using this dot insert method, and one as an index value, and the next element which will replace the banana. Okay, so not replace, sorry. So it will just insert after before banana. I mean to say, in the first position, orange will come and banana will be appended next to orange. Now extend is another method which just flattens a list. So basically, you can see it's just appending to the rest of the elements of list. Now using this remove method, we can remove an element from a list, and if we want to remove a specific element, we can use this pop method. If we want to delete any element, we can use delete as well. Using sort method, we can sort a respective list, and if we want to sort in a reverse order, then we can pass this reverse equals to true. Okay, so we saw that using sort method we can sort a list. Now this is a string example. Now if we want to print the first element, we can just use string of a respective index element, and the respective value will be printed. Using length function, we can print the length of a string. Now, this is just an example of boolean. If we would like to check if expensive not in text string, then yeah, since it is not present, it will print the true. Now, this is an example of indexing of a string. So the respective index element will be printed. Now we have upper method as well. I mean, we have this method in SQL as well. So what it will do, it will just make all the letters uppercase. Now, okay, I think this name needs to be modified. Yeah. Now, using this length attribute, we can find the length of a tuple as well. Now, this is how we can, if there is a requirement that we want to append any element to a tuple, then as we know that tuple cannot be modified, so we can modify this to a list. Then we can use this append method. Similarly, if we want to remove an element, we can make it a list. Then we can do the respective operation. Now this is an example of a set. Set contains unique elements and we represent them in a curly braces. Now using this add method, we can add elements to a set. If you want to update any element, we can use this set dot update method. And if we would like to remove any of the element, then we can use this set dot remove method. So similarly, in mathematic operations, we have union intersection. So similarly, we can use set one dot union. If I would like to run this, then it will give me a union of all the set elements. Now this is an example of dictionary which consists of key and value pair. Now if I would like to know the result, I will just hit Control and Enter or Shift and Enter, and it will give me the respective key and value pair of the dictionary. Um, Using a dictionary, and within square bracket, I can write key name, and it will give me the respective value for that key. And similarly here, I'm just assigning some of the values. I can use as well the get method as well to get the key. Okay, so this is how we can retrieve a respective value for a key using this get method. So basically we would use dictionary dot get, then the respective key and the value we would be able to fetch. Now, if we want to print the keys and dictionary keys and the value pair, then we can use this dictionary dot keys or dictionary dot values. So the respective keys and values will be printed. If we would like to update any value for a specific key, then we can pass the. I mean, we can pass the key and value, and the respective dictionary will be updated. Now, to iterate through the each items, I mean key and value of a dictionary, we can use this for x comma y in dictionary dot items print x comma y, respective key and values will be printed. Okay, now we will come to the control flow decision making statement. So we have this if, elif, else, and we have other loops as well, but we will focus on this if and if and else statements as of now. So this is how we are writing. If b is greater than n, then just print b is greater than n. L if a equals to b, print a and b are equal. So since both are equal, it will be printed as a and b are equal. So this is an example where we have this if, elif, and else statement. Now this is another example where we have only if and else statements. Now we can also use nested if statement. So how we are doing is if x greater than 0, and inside that we are writing if greater than 20. So this else will be applicable for this if statement. Okay, so it printed above 10 and also above 20. Now we can, there might be a scenarios where we don't want to do any execution. uh, it, it can be inside a function or class or inside any if statement. There we would use just a pass statement. Now this is an example of a simple while loop where while I less than 6. So this condition will be satisfied until I is less than 6. So it will print, and it will keep on incrementing, and it will print values from I 1 to 5. Now, similar to other programming language, we have break and continue as well. So as you can see, when the I value will be equals to 3, it will exit out of the complete loop. I mean program, and it will print up to 1, 2, and 3. Similarly, we have continue the iteration that for that specific I value, we can use this continue. So as you can see here, it's not printing any value of when I was 3. It just ignored that that iteration, it ignored, and it printed 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Now to iterate a list, we can also use for loop. So we just use for x in fruits, print of x. Now to iterate a string, this is a similar example. We are just printing each element of a string. Now this is a similar example where we can use break statement. So when it was banana, we exited out of the loop. Now this is another example of a break. Now we have this range where we can uh, we can print the values for a specific range. So we use this for x in range of 6. So it will start from 0 to 6 and print the respective values. Now similarly, if you would like to iterate through a range but with a specific fixed interval, then we can write in this way. So it will start from 2 to 30, but it will in each iteration it will add 3 and will check those values. Okay, though this is another example of a nested for loop statement. So we have this adjective list and fruit list. What we are doing here is for x in adjective, and inside that we have another nested loop for y in fruits, and we are printing the values of x and y. So what it is trying to do is it is just appending each of the list elements. So red apple, red banana, big apple, big banana. Similarly. Now this is an example of a simple function. Now the function name is greet and we are passing the argument as name. This is a comment section within double quotes we have written. Now what it is doing is it is appending the name, and it is appending the name to the static attributes hello and good morning. So when we will pass the name in the function, this name specific function will be replaced here. So it will be printed as hello Paul, good morning. Now, this is another example of a function where we have this x value within a function and outside the function as well. So, when the function will be called, the respective x value will be printed. Now, once it comes out of the loop, it will be print the x value will be printed as 20. Now, this is an example of addition. So this way we can define the arguments, the data type as well. So basically, this is just adding two of the numbers, and this is how we are calling the function. And this is just a string formatting. So yeah, so basically those attributes will be replaced while using this print statement. Now, this is an example of writing a function to find which is a prime number. So, how we have written this is if n is 2 and 3, definitely those are prime numbers. So, we are returning true as a boolean value. If n mod 2 means if the remainder, modulo division means if the remainder is 0, then obviously it's not a prime number. Then we are also checking if r into r, I mean inside a while loop, we are checking if it is r cross r less than equals to n, and if n mod r equals to 0, then definitely we should return false. Otherwise, we are adding the r with incrementing by 2. If this condition doesn't satisfy, then we would be returning true. Okay, so if here I have checked these two values, so 78 is not a prime number, that's why it returned false. 79, it returned true. Now this is a simple example of finding even odd number. If x mod 2, if any number is divisible by 2, then it will be even, otherwise it will be odd. Now this is just a simple example, so we can pass, uh, how we can use default argument. So at the time of defining function, we can write out, what would be the default value for y. So since we didn't pass any value for y, so it just printed y equals to 50. If I will pass some of the values for y, then it will be overwritten. Okay. We can use something called variable length arguments. So sometimes we don't know what will be the variable length argument, so we can pass a variable number of arguments to a function. So at that time we can use star arguments or double star keyword arguments. Basically this is applicable to the non keyword argument, and this will be applicable to keyword arguments. Now we will see some of the example below. Okay, so uh, this is an example of how we can use star arguments for variable number of arguments. So what we can do is, in the function we can pass star argv, and using a for loop we can iterate over the argv argument and print each of these elements. So if I will pass hello welcome to Python, then each of these elements will be printed. So this is just an example how we can use this star arguments for variable number of arguments. Now if it is a key value pair, this is how we can use it. We can use double star kw arguments. We can pass any value for this kw arguments, but yeah, we need to pass this is how we can iterate through each of the keys and values of a dictionary. So we have written for key value in kw arguments dot items print key and value. So this is how it will print the respective key and the respective value. Now this is another simple example of a function which is just me printing the square of any of the values. So it will print 4 and 16. Now coming to a lambda function. So lambda function is basically a function which is an anonymous function, and it can have maximum one line of code. So we can do using lambda is, it's very much powerful. So this is a simple example. Now definition cube of x, I am returning x cross x cross x, I mean cube of x. Now for that I can write cube v2 equals to lambda x is to x cube. Now what will happen if I am just printing calling the cube of 7, the above the first function will be called. But similarly if I will call cube of v2, this second line function will be called. It can just have a one line of statement, but it can make your code very simple to write. So that is the advantage of lambda function. Now we will talk about what is a module, what is a package, and what are libraries. These are very much important to know the concepts. So now module is just a simple Python file that contains a collection of functions and global variables, which will be having .py extension. Now this is how I can write a module. I mean any function which can have some kind of logics to implement, that can be treated as a module. So now those module I can import in my in other programs as well. Let's say I have one few business logics that I have written in another module, and there is a different different program we can say which want to import our model. Then they can just write import demo module, then they can call demo module dot function name, and they can pass the respective argument. Now package is a directory which is having a collection of modules. we can say that logical modules. So this directory contains Python modules and it must have the init method. Now if you would like to import any of the package or module to different directory, then you should have init method, which is basically just a initialization constructor method, we can say. Now let's say for an example we have a package of student, then it must have this init method, that is a constructor. Now we can have different models inside this, like details, marks, or college details.py. These all are individual modules. Now library is a collection of related functionality of codes that will allow you to perform many tasks without writing your code. So basically the main concept behind library is it's a reusable chunk of codes that you can write it and you can import in your program. For an example, I can give a simple example. Pandas is a library which is used for reading a CSV file or Excel file. So instead of writing all your complex codes, what Python provides us is we have a pandas inbuilt library which we can just import by using this import pandas. Then we can use this pd as an alias name, and we can use the respective functions or respective modules that was written inside this library, and we can read the respective files. So thank you. So if you like the content, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.